I want to buy exactly your type of company right now. Like I crave these amazing video creators because there's such a lack in the market right now. But I can't buy you. You're too small. Just the me reveal,
Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms. Pop, it's a Thursday. How you doing?
Do I look like Sean Puri? I'm kind of looking at myself and I'm like, huh.
You look ill. You look ill. You look sick with it, dude. Subscribe on YouTube. Got him.
I don't know why there's a Sean Puri bug. I don't know.
You don't know
who's
how that
playing
got there?
practical jokes and put that there, but I like it. It's motivating.
Well, look, Pop, that's all the tea I got. So I'm going to hand it right back over to you. I'm going to have some coffee and happy Thursday.
Hey, you know what I realized? I was thinking. I'm like, there are a lot of videos, whether it's a podcast or a keynote or some sort of, what other options are there? Conference, I guess that's a keynote. Just a lot of these videos of important people telling important truths, but no one watches them because they're boring as shit. What I like here is we start with entertaining, in theory. I don't know if it is, but we like to have fun. We're goofy goobers.
Goobers.
Hey, settle down. Take it easy. What the scallop? I'm a goofy goober.
You show up for the goob, and you get a little of the goo. And the goo is the smart stuff that's cooking around your brain. That's what I like about us, and that's what we want to double down on. Because that's Sean Puri had an email that came out, and he's like,
I was just gonna say,
MFM. He's like, it's the gooey goober vibe. It's like you get the best of both worlds. That's what we're trying to give you.
What was it though? It was like you're not gonna compete with the people just having fun. You're not. You can't beat them.
Oh.
If you're having fun,
Yeah, dude.
you win. And why the MFM, why he said they were so successful is because business is boring. Business podcasts are boring. But you
Boring
come
shit.
for him and Sean being absolute goofy goobers. And this isn't
Hanging out
contrived.
with the boys.
That's the interesting part. This is actually only 10% of the goofy goob.
There's a lot of goo, dude. A lot of goo. That's not for the pod, though. 5 lessons I learned last night. Hey,
No,
what I do want to talk about is this. We got an agenda.
I like when you come with an agenda. I'm
got an
undecided
agenda.
on when you throw out a goo and 5 lessons you learned last night. Undecided.
Here's the thing. I want
Here's
to transition.
the thing.
We don't talk enough about challenging norms. I'm challenging a lot of norms right now. I'm having
Yeah,
a
you
real
are challenging
relationship
norms.
as someone with undiagnosed Asperger's.
You know what's crazy, Pop? We're going to come on here and be goofy goobers while Russia is walking into Ukraine today. That is
Dude.
crazy to me.
Hats
Crazy
off, dude.
to me.
Russian troops and tanks have entered Ukraine on all fronts.
Hats off. Fucking.
To who?
They're like, we're gonna do it, and they did it.
I don't know.
I don't
Have you read
actually. I don't really know geopolitics.
No, I don't.
That'd
hey,
be
you sent
frightening.
that. It'd be so frightening, and we're just shooting a podcast. There's this book, really quick. It's called The Fourth Turning. It's about how history repeats itself in 80-year cycles. And we right now are in the last 20 years of an 80-year cycle. That 20-year period is called a crisis. It's exactly what's happening right now. We're in it until 2028. And that's the only way I can explain
Here's the
this
thing.
stuff away.
And we'll get to what the agenda of this podcast is at some point. Actually, it's how do we make a couple $1 million off a crazy deal. We'll talk about it in a second. But here's the thing. I was reading another article, and it was like, don't trust old people. And you told me this yesterday. Like, old people, they grew up in a completely different world. There's this thing from Wait But Why where it's like, say someone from ancient times, a long time ago, woke up today. Like, would they be shocked by what they see? Like giant fucking skyscrapers, planes flying overhead, and just have a heart attack and die? Like, what is the period of time? For much of human history, it was like caveman time to up until like 2,000 years ago. not much really changed. And then from 2,000 years ago to like, I don't know, the Renaissance or something, then it would have been like, oh my God, this is a massive change. Heart attack, died. And it's like a, 2,000 year period. And then from the Renaissance to like 1776, say, it's like, oh my God, all this shit is new and they have a heart attack. I don't even know what Renaissance was, like 1500s. But now, today, it's like shit is changing so much faster that we could be born now, like the fucking cell phone. I'd almost have a heart attack and die if I was someone from like the 40s or whatever and saw it. So I think basically the world's changing so fast, it's not like anything we've seen before. So any sort of like, oh, it repeats in 80-year cycles. There weren't nuclear bombs 80 years ago. They just got invented. It's like, it's just a different world. I think all that shit's bullshit, basically. I don't trust any of it.
And that's that.
Agenda? How about this? That's what our business is like. I'm like, I have an idea, Belky. And he's like, shrug, let's try it. And that's why we have a lot of problems here. Hey, really quick, before we talk agenda, are you okay with me eating a banana without the peel?
No. I actually think that is, what's the word? What's the word for like when a person acts like an animal? It's not arcane. It's not grotesque. What's the word?
I could never crack 700 on my SAT verbals.
That's tough.
I'm not very good at that.
That's tough. My ACT reading was really bad. All I know is you're a chimp. That's basically it.
I'm a chimp.
Savage.
Dude. But chimps, that's actually, how do chimps eat bananas? That's a great question. How do chimps eat? Do they? Because I'll freak out if you guys are pretending to be...
don't they pop it right out of the bottom and like grab the whole thing and then shove it in their mouth?
Oh, dude. Look at this stupid fucking chimp. Hold on. Oh, no, dude. Actually, he's not that stupid, probably. He's trying to open it. But I thought he was just eating it from the side like a savage, dude. Yeah, they just peel it and eat like that. That's what I do. I peel it and pull out the banana.
It's not sharing yet.
Oh. It says it's sharing.
It's buffering. I got 3-dot buffering. Does the audience have that? Oh, there it is. There's the fucking monkey, dude. They eat it out the side?
No, that one's just stupid. It's hard to extrapolate. I eat it kind of like this little guy. What is this? He's a Business Insider. Hey, let's look at that transition, baby. Yes. How do we sell to Business Insider? That's the agenda. How do I end my screen share too? That's a better agenda item. Stop sharing. All right. Here's the deal.
Why sell to Business Insider?
Well, hey, great question. Is this audience Q&A?
It's a Q&A.
We get like 13 views. You cracked 1,000 though. That's kind of cool. It's gonna grow exponentially.
Watch out with the slippery slope pop. Everyone was scared. They come on to Smart Nonsense. They see 400 and 44. 400. That's a lucky number. Make a wish. 444 subscribers. You're like, that's a small group of people. I don't know if I want to hop on the bandwagon quite yet. I don't know if there's enough social proof there. I'm watching 1 million subscribers. I hit 1,000. They're like, we're in it. Hero's journey. I'm part of it now. I'm the hero. That's social proof. We're on it. So now I get like twice as many subscribers a day.
You're gonna get a bunch of fucking bandwagons. I like my ride or dies at 444.
Well, no. Here's actually the cool thing about it. I think is we said screw the hacks, screw the growth strategies. Let's post consistent content over time. Let's have 444 fucking, what do we call them? Fanatics. 444 fanatics.
Not fans.
And just
fanatics.
Not fans. Fanatics. And just trust that over time they're gonna, organically spread awareness.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sell everything and just focus on Henry's vlog channel. That's all I really want to do with my life. No, why are we doing this? I don't know. I think this has been a grand experiment the last year, 2 years of, hey, let's go from zero, work on our own content. Oh, this turned into an agency. Oh, this turned into a big agency. Wow, we have almost 50 people. Wow, this is scary. I don't like this. Downsize. I'm scared. I don't like people.
Mayday.
Just Henry and I.
Mayday.
it's kind of full circle where like we did it. We experienced what it's like to run a large company and see what's possible. Like I just don't think it's for us. It's like if this podcast were 50 people, it'd be a shit podcast. We're just like, Henry don't get to hang out and talk, and it just doesn't feel like we want. So we just want to get back to our roots.
I got my hood going over my shoulder, Pop. Yeah, I think like when you get to that when you get to that critical mass, then you need strategy and memos and all hands and project managers and like
it
chains
turns
of
into
communication.
A job.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks almost now, I can't go in Slack. I refuse to. It scares me. The burden is entirely on Henry, and it's not good. And he's burning out. He's got eye bags everywhere, and he's losing his hair. We can't have that. So our options is basically let Henry die in 2 years, or pivot to something that just gives us that natural internal fuel that we love, and it's just us hanging out, creating products.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, myself included, can do that day to day, can do what I do, but you're not going to do it well. I'm just like, we call it the fire extinguisher. There's so much shit going on. I'm just like, send that. It starts to turn into ping pong. It starts to turn into the corporate bullshit that like everyone does. And I just think we want so much more than that.
Well, it's interesting, and I'll talk about this more in a bit, but I had a conversation yesterday with someone that created a successful agency, got it to somewhere between probably $3 and $10 million a year in profit. So he sold it. He probably made like 10 to 30 million bucks. I don't know. Successful. Now he's like at the corporate side. Now he buys companies. And we had this conversation. He's like, yeah, people just kind of get into agencies like I did at 23. I made an agency and then just found myself at 140 people. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking massive. And then I got bought out. And it's just like, it's just kind of inertia that brings people down this. And somehow, I don't know how, because we can barely handle 6 months of an agency, but somehow he's done it for probably 10 years now. And we're like,
I'm just not convinced they've done it well. I'm just convinced they've gone through the motions for 10. Like any agency we talk to, they're just like going through the motions.
So our idea is like, okay, I guess the problem is this. We have, call it 40 awesome super editors. These creatives that we spent over a year finding all of them and just training and making sure it's just the best absolute team possible, specifically for clips and animated clips, which we now realize probably isn't the future. How Lindy is a clip that's highly animated. Well, considering we pretty much invented it a year ago, it's probably only going to last another year, assuming that we don't know like where the start and end is. So if we go with that Lindy model, we're like, okay, that's dangerous. Whereas, a normal video editor, like just a video editor.
Lindy, by the way, is something will be around as long as it has been around.
Nice,
so
dude.
If we cooked it up this year, we can expect it'll be around for one more year.
Well, the math behind it is basically like if you assume it's on a bell curve, so it's like evenly distributed, like the odds on average, you're most likely just in the middle of that like bell curve of how long something will exist. If that makes sense, I guess it's hard to visualize, but you're probably in the middle. So just assume however long it started to go, that's probably how much longer it's going to last. So
true
compare
for
that
books,
to
news, companies. We apply it to like most everything now.
Right.
But go on.
So if you're trying to like get educated, better to read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius that's been around 2,000 years versus
and a Twitter thread,
a book that just came out or a Twitter thread. So we're looking at animated clips. Maybe that has a year left, something like that. It might have a super long future, but we don't know. On average, probably going to be another year. First is look at video editing. That's been around since probably like the 20s when video actually first came into it. So we have another 100 years if we just assume Lindy's somewhat in the ballpark of accuracy. So I'd much rather bet on something that'll be around 100 years, our entire lifetime, than something that is probably only going to be another year. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like we have this pickle of a lot of people that were hired into an agency, so they expected an agency, that we tried to push down this platform route where they're kind of more so like contractors that get paid when they're working with clients, not when they're not. And they don't really necessarily want to be that. Granted, they're getting paid a lot. We think.
Pop, you want to know the biggest pickle pie about this? This has to be true for other agencies, especially if you want to move this fast. Everything we're currently putting out as an agency is what gets us business. Therefore, the business that comes back to us is more and more for this dying Lindy thing we're talking about, animated clips. So by doing them, we get into the sand trap of having to do more of them.
The fucking sand trap, dude.
So then we have to hire more of these people that we know this thing, if we keep doing it like this, will be obsolete in a year, 2 years.
Right,
so we're growing, we're scaling this thing that's actually contracting.
It's the pickliest of pies where you can't get out of the sand trap because it's like, hey, the only way, we only know how to like market ourselves through these animated clips, and they market themselves when we have clients that do them. But then they come in and they see those and they're like, hey, actually, you don't need those. And I'm like, but I want them. That's what got my attention. So you're saying it's not going to work for me? I'm like, it might, but for like 1 or 2 videos, and then people get bored and they're like, we just want more. We don't want better. Like, just give us more of you.
We literally can't convince people that our old clips, the old way we used to do things, are a dying growth strategy for your brand.
Right.
They're like, no, we want the all-in clips. We're like, no, you don't. Trust us,
David Sachs
you don't.
He's like, I don't want your new stuff. And it's like, it performs better. It performs better. Why don't you want it? So we're like, how do we just sever ties with this trap? Because otherwise, everyone's going to be asking for this. We're going to infinitely scale into something that we know isn't the future.
Okay, wait. So there's that trap. There's the output trap, and then what you were talking about when I interrupted is the inner agency trap, where we're trying to get our entire agency over to the platform, but there's really a lot of inertia there, and no matter what we say and what they say about being okay with that, and we increase pay to do that, it's like we're still an agency. We say we're a platform, but we're still an agency because everybody likes that.
It's like the reverse. Like, picture us being forced to be an employee right now. It really doesn't matter how much you pay me. I just don't want to be an employee.
Yeah, we'd keep doing the same.
They're the reverse. So, because we love risk and we love fucking solving problems, and it's like, we don't care about security. Like, I'm happy to sleep on the floor somewhere.
So we're in the sand trap, dude.
So here's the point. There are, though, this is kind of the beauty, the beautiful silver lining. There are very select people where our highly animated clips make sense. Those people are Naval Ravikant and Morning Brew. Basically, the only 2 people that we think it would make sense. And Collins and Samir, but we're kind of modeling after Collins and Samir. Because what we realized is, okay, too much editing for most people, but this is a really cool style, this like a lot of motion graphic style. It is engaging, and it does work on Twitter when it's done right, especially when it's this news sort of information, this like hot topic that just came out, and it like talks about a lot of current events. So there's a lot of graphics. Like, take Dharmesh.
Roll the Miami
talks about
clip.
Abstract. Okay.
The least affordable city in the US? Not LA, not New York. It's Miami. Why? Because rich northerners are all packing their bags for the city bringing the heat, which is driving housing prices crazy. Take rent. It's up 34% in the last year. Want to buy a house instead? A normal house costs $589,000 or $34,000 a year in mortgage payments. But a normal family only makes $43,000 a year. This means almost 80% of all Miamians' income goes only to their housing. And that's why the answer to this question is clear.
And we're back for Dharmesh, baby.
And like Dharmesh, he's talking about like LTV to CAC, and it's like all this stuff that is brilliant, but it's not pop culture. Versus people that talk about pop culture and news, it just lends itself beautifully to what we do, and it actually has a big ROI. And Morning Brew wants this. Like, they see it, they want it, and we think it makes sense performance-wise for them to do it. So we're like, how do we get out of this trap? What we thought And what we still kind of think is, hey, most of our current customers, they probably shouldn't be doing this, or at least at this scale. Let's take the whole team and just give them a morning brew. Like, all these.
it's not
Don't leave
so
me
much
hanging now.
like
Don't leave
it's
me
not so
hanging
much
now.
like auctioning them off to Morning Brew. It's like we shouldn't scale this animated clip thing. Let's preserve that as a faction of clipped media, and allow all of us to go do that thing with Morning Brew.
Right. Like, I'm not excited about all these people basically wasting their money. Like, I don't believe in the product that we're selling as is.
We've never made a clipped.
That's
We've
why.
never made
There's
a clip.
the
We're
pickle,
sitting on a
dude.
call like this a week or two ago. We're like stuck in a rut. I'm like, Pop, I don't know if we talked about this on here, but I'm like, Pop, when was the last time you made a clipped for the Smart Nonsense podcast? And it's like, oh, all this talk about scratching our own itch, and we accidentally built this thing we don't use. How does that make sense?
That's the problem. Okay. I was like, the customers don't want it, but ultimately we don't want it. So why are we building something we don't want? Because now we're just guessing, and guessing doesn't work. It's just like, build the thing that you want and that you can't get, and then there are other people most likely like you. And guess what? There are a lot of creators. There are 500 every cohort with Ali Abdaal. So like, okay, we're that demographic. We're just gonna build the product for ourselves. But Morning Brew, we can see it making sense with their brand because they're
Way more
big,
valuable.
their news, everything. So we're like, what's exciting to us is if we took our team and just went full, like, pedal to the metal. Let's just rip Morning Brew and also Business Insider eventually with our 40-person team. That's what we want to do. That's what's exciting to us. And our original idea is like, okay, since we want to focus on that for maybe a month, but then like let them rip with it, and then we focus on this new like clipped marketplace platform, that like Uber for video that we want to build, but it's just like the video that we want. And also Ali Abdaal's cohorts. So that's the direction we want to go. But we're like, okay, to make this work, we were thinking, oh, we have to get acquired or acqui-hired, I guess, is what you call it.
Which you
'Cause
thought
they're
was a
taking
fake
on our
word.
team. I did. I thought we were all joking, like they spelled it wrong. It's like acqui-hire. That's so funny. I didn't know it was two different things. I guess acquire the business, which includes the people and the like intellectual property and like everything like within the business. I guess it values that differently versus just buying the people. That it doesn't sound very
I'm proud
good,
of you.
But, so I'm learning a lot of things in the last couple of days, and so we were thinking we wanted to do this buyout, and I guess this is where it's useful to you. Okay, you the listener. Let me speak to you the listener, because maybe you're into startups, maybe you're interested in like, okay, I want to build something great, and a lot of people when they build something great.
I was listening to our episode with Elon Musk about what's his advice for like a startup founder or whatever. It's just don't do it. Don't. That's what you should do if you're building a startup. Don't.
Right.
Don't.
Don't do it. But if you're stupid enough to do it like we are, then you're probably going to get to the point where you're like, okay, maybe you don't like what you built, or you like it but you don't find it useful, which is kind of like, we're kind of in that realm, or like not useful personally for us, so it doesn't feel right building it, or you just want to cash out. Like, I don't know what your thing is, but if you get to the point where you want to sell your company, this is where it's like completely new for us. And the last week we've been trying to figure out, what does that look like? How do we do it? What's funny
We're
is
just making it up.
we're absolutely making it up. So we get one little acqui-hire message in a DM with Alex Lee Ruman, who runs Morning Brew. He's one of the founders. His other co-founder said, oh, let's acqui-hire them. We're like, that's a crazy idea. But if we were to entertain it, because we're crazy people, this is what it could look like. We first pitched in just text form, and they're like, oh, let's double down, make some awesome videos. Bam, bam. We showed them in the last episode. So I think we left a cliffhanger there. He responded, and he's like, yeah, I'm talking with my co-founder this week. And then we got him to talk on Friday. One of the big problems that we have is we're thinking acqui-hire, like let's just completely shift gears, like get out of it. Don't worry about this at all. Move over to the marketplace. But how do we create this sort of urgency? Because we're in basically, we just kind of get out of this world. Like, just like.
Right. They have no
completely
reason to move as fast
context switch.
as we want to. Because we literally have like the clipped marketplace, the platform stuff starting Monday with Ali Abdaal.
Right.
So we're like, this is a fork in the road. We need to know what's going on. And Morning Brew's like, yeah, we'll get to video at some point this year.
Right. So that's where Henry and I were battling. We're like, okay, how do we add some urgency? Because he was giving us some sort of like vague, I'm going to talk this week. And then I guess normal people would approach it like the normal thing is, hey, we're putting this up for auction. Like we're talking to several people. We kind of tried that with HubSpot. We're like, hey, we got like a potential offer. Like, what would it look like with you? We spent a lot of time crafting these messages, basically an entire day trying to craft these messages to add some urgency and add a little bit of competitive nature. It didn't really work out because Dharmesh didn't respond. But we realized with Morning Brew, what Henry just said, what Belky said with adding urgency through like, hey, we want to focus on Ali Abdaal. They need us. They need 500 editors. Like, we have time right now to go over this brew plan and fucking crush it. But if you don't want to do it, then it's never going to be around. Like, it's now or never sort of thing. Granted, I don't know what happens if they say never. Then it's like, okay, rethink everything.
We thought about that last night. I can't remember. There was like a plan D. Doesn't matter.
Well, point being, we send that message. I guess we'll include some screenshots with YouTubers. And we get the call on Friday. So yesterday, I get connected through Yuri, who's a marketer friend, brilliant dude. He's the reason why we're focused on just make it a no-brainer pitch. Like, one, no decision fatigue, no-brainer. Like, that just sounds like a good offer to me. That's sort of like our foundation for all our marketing. Simple action is what we like to call it. Did we get into that? We never talked about
the future of marketing.
Oh, we should have
Look at
talked
that
to Sean
thumbnail.
Puri. Well,
Wait, simple action? Yeah, it's a chapter in your book. It's the newest chapter. What did you ask me? Our book. What did you ask me?
Well, here's the prompts. Let me pull up my
Something
book
about
notes.
if you were to bring in a CEO.
Hey, you want to know how to write a book? Write it over like 5 years when you're in the process, and then it's just already done. Okay, so this is question. A great blog, by the way. What is it? RVG.blog.
Oh, dude, Ravi from
Ripper,
Sequoia.
Dude. Yeah, he was working at Instacart as the CFO, COO, something like that. It's crazy. Their story of one, he came into the company and his first investor call was like, hey, we're losing like $20 in every order, which means like $3 million a week or something crazy like that. So they're losing crazy money. He comes in, they turn it around, and then a year later, once it's turned around and super profitable, their number one client is Whole Foods, 43% of their business, and Whole Foods suddenly gets bought out by Amazon. So now Instacart is at war with Amazon, which I buy all my groceries and get them delivered through Amazon. So clearly the competition.
You don't want to be at war
strong.
with Amazon.
You don't.
Or Russia.
So he somehow salvages it, and within like a year, Whole Foods made up less than 1% of their grocers. So it's just this brilliant turnaround, and now they're like a self-sustaining business and make like $3 every order. Basically a brilliant dude. He has this blog, and in it, I don't know, I forget which one this was about, something about joy, but there's this one question. If you're a founder, ask yourself, if you had to pick a CEO to replace you, what is the one belief that they have to share with you? What do they share with you?
And you asked me that.
What is? And so I thought about it. I took my what's my gut instinct, and then I also asked Henry because I wanted to see what you thought.
And so mine was default to action.
And mine was simplify everything.
Are we sitting around sharing?
Yeah, it was a little
And
powwow.
I chose. What was yours? I laughed
Well,
over
this
it. Don't put the radical honesty video up. Don't do it.
And the chant that always leads to enlightenment within 3 minutes is this. Duh, duh, And if you slobber, you can get there in 2 minutes.
Don't do it.
I spent
Angel.
10 years in a radical honesty, and what we discovered was the one transfer. Oh, whatever. Okay, so
Yours
simplify
was-
everything. Simplify everything. And yours was default to action. And we compressed the fuck out of them. We simplified both into just simple action.
How about Simpson? How about Simpson?
Simpson, you like Simpson.
Simpson.
One of those simple as possible, but no simpler. Don't go any simpler than
it's
simple
great,
action.
dude. You
like-
say something, I'm like, we should do these 10 things, and you're like, dial it the fuck back, and I'm like, you're right, and then we end up just doing a simple little action
Right.
in the afternoon.
I
It's
remember
perfect.
when you were working on Dunbar, it was always like, hey, let's do these 10 things over the next 6 months. And I was just always thinking, I'm like, what's the one thing you can do right now?
I don't know.
Simple action. So I don't even know what the fuck we were talking about before that. Yuri,
Dude.
somehow simple action. I don't know. Well, Yuri connected us with this other dude, the dude I mentioned before, who sold his company for tens of millions of dollars, and now is in this space. He's been both on the buyer and the seller side of agencies. It's like, hey, dude, hey, Knees. That's his name. Oh, or Knee. Fuck, why do I keep calling him Knees?
Knees?
Hey, Knee.
Are you
I hope I
fucking me
didn't-
right now? Knees.
Got it.
With an S?
Well, it's like case. Dude, I'm all messed up in the head. I hope I didn't call him that on the call because it was a lovely hour call. But we're like, hey, dude, we want to sell this thing by Friday because we have this like catchphrase within the week. That's what we've been saying like crazy in our chats. How do we do that? And he's like, after asking me a bunch of questions, which is awesome, like don't just get into advising someone, like actually understand where they're coming from. He tried to understand where I was coming from after a bunch of questions. And he's like, dude, I mean, I can give you the answer. One, you're not going to like it. But two, I don't agree with the premise. Why are you trying to sell on Friday? We're like, well, we kind of want to do this other thing and we value our opportunity cost very highly. So we want to work on the opportunity and not have the cost. And he's like, all right, sure. How old are you? I'm like, I'm 24. He's like, okay, all right, that makes sense. You're a fucking crazy hooligan. I get it. I was there too. If I were you, I would hire an operator that builds that out to like a 10, 20, $30 million agency and then sell that. And you don't have to worry about it. Just let them rip. And it's a totally separate entity. And like, you don't have the headache.
Can I
And then
just
build the
say,
thing. Yeah.
can I just say, when somebody says, if I were you, just understand that everything they say after that is them saying, like, I am me and this is what I did. Right? He has no idea who you are and what's in your shoes.
Right.
That-
He
it's
got like
just like
10
this-
minutes of background.
Yeah, it's just this most interesting thing to me about giving and receiving advice. It's just like through the lens of that person.
Right.
I have a quote from The Courage to Be Disliked, I think. Answers from others are nothing more than stopgap measures. They're of no value.
What
And I think
the
what's
fuck
interesting-
caveman was that?
Answers from others are stopgap is like a temporary solution.
So just
What the
like
fuck caveman was
asking
that?
others for help is useless?
Yeah.
I mean, not always.
But this wasn't useless.
Well, it was useful because here's the thing. Okay, it looks like we're just being ridiculous and we're like people that just want to cash out and there's no thought put into it. But like a lot of the things we say, like, oh, we're just silly people and we don't really know what's going on. We actually put a lot of thought into our decisions. We read constantly, like we're constantly hearing from other people. And it's not like this was just a whim decision. But he's like, okay, if you don't want to do that for some reason, like even though you wouldn't have any like mental headache, you just have to find that operator, which it sounds like maybe you have and your co-founder's brother or maybe someone else, or you design the company so beautifully, it's really just customer service and then you just hire a customer service person and that's all it is. But okay, you completely want a blank slate. Fine, I get it. I think it's impossible to sell by Friday. I've never heard of anything that sells within 30 days, and most deals take 2 to 3 months. Why? Because there's due diligence where they have to now open up your books and look at like, okay, how much are you making? Typically with an agency, it's like a 3x multiple on
revenue. Or some EBITDA bullshit.
Well, EBITDA is just, I think of it just as like profit. He's like, you can do that, but like in a perfect world, you'd get sold for $5 million, but you wouldn't see that for 3 months, which doesn't solve your problem of switching right now. And guess what? It's a full-time job to make sure like they go through all the due diligence and do all this stuff. Like I want to buy exactly your type of company right now. Like I crave these amazing video creators because there's such a lack in the market right now. But I can't buy you. You're too small. If you had that $3 to $10 million of profit, I could buy you in a second at 10x. Like I could buy you for $100 million in a second, but I can't.
Why? Did he elaborate on why we're too small? He wouldn't
It's
buy
just
it
like
for
not
$3 million
worth their time. If it takes them 3 months to go through this whole process, it's not going to move the needle for the multi-$100 million, billion-dollar company. And one thing that was nice is he knew everything about Morning Brew and the hustle and like all these companies because he's a big newsletter guy. He has his own newsletter for creators. So he's like, here's what I would do if you really want something to happen by Friday. You need
Here
to
comes
make
the brilliance.
So Alex can single-handedly make this decision. How do you do that? You have a year contract that he can expense. There's no oversight, no approval from Business Insider. It's just Morning Brew, here's your budget. This is the expense, forward clipped. It's this year, $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is that you want to pitch. That's just what it is. And boom, it happens Friday, start implementing on Monday. Like, oh, that's interesting. And you start to dig deeper. It's like, okay, now he does this big deal with us, which we're literally happy to do at cost for us. Like we make no profit. We just kind of get like the cash flow benefit and we can focus now on something else if he really took the reins with all that. But the brilliance is in a year, what happens? Now their team is so tightly integrated with our team, our 40-person team, that they can't do without us.
Yeah, you can't unwind that.
It would take like, when they're considering the deal, they consider, oh, what would it look like for us to build this ourselves? They couldn't build this themselves. It took us a year of just heads down focused on hiring and training these amazing creatives. They couldn't do that. And they're a big company. So it'd probably take them 2-3 years if they wanted to get even close. So at the end of this year, who knows? Maybe they're going to want to just buy us at that point. And now we can value at a multiple of the contract. Be like, oh, you'd normally pay $1 million, $2 million for this contract. Just pay 3x that or 4x, whatever the multiple is. And it's a lot easier. There's less due diligence. There's more like proof that
it's even
work.
an easier sell.
It's the easiest.
Like kind of proof of concept, right? If the year is a smashing success or even a moderate success, you at least have some like tangible growth metric. We're just saying, oh, we're going to 10x Morning Brew next year.
Right.
It's like if we come on for a yearly contract and we actually do that, well, now we're going to beg a lot more when it comes to the kind of buyout.
Which is interesting because we're incentivized to be a little bit more hands-on than probably we want to be because we want to like be completely hands-off. But if we want to then sell it in a year or have another awesome contract, then it has to be successful. So we got to show them returns. But I think we can. And it's exciting because it's just this untapped, they tell great stories, just it's written. Now it's turned into video and audio. So
it's also exciting because it gets our entire agency team back under like the umbrella of an agency.
The most safety.
Where there's job security and certainty. Right.
And they're building something great that even we're excited about. Like I'm excited about the idea of building the first business news organization, just business organization that gets video. No one gets what Gen Z and millennials want. Morning Brew did it with written content for millennials and more or less Gen Z. But we're pretty much all video now. Everyone's just scrolling through TikTok or on IG Reels, like shorts. That's where we live. So we want them to find their next new customer. And that's where they're going to find the 18-year-olds that's in college and then get them for the next 10 years. So excited there. That'll let us build the clip side of things. And we have that conversation tomorrow. So going into, we were actually crazy. We're like, yo, Alex, are you in New York? And we're just going to tell him, oh, we are too, and fly out there and just take him to the same place Huston took us. But he's not. He's skiing in Vermont. He's flying all over the States because he's just balling out. He's a millionaire. So have that conversation. We're going to have to figure out a plan. I think we're going to approach it where we just come in asking like, hey, Alex, we've heard more or less your idea with growing this, but like, give us more detail. Like, what are you envisioning a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year out for the video side of Morning Brew?
Right, and like, what are they planning internally? Because we're just kind of throwing stuff at them. We have not received any information back,
right,
on what they're currently doing or what they're really trying to do. So it's very lopsided.
In negotiations, which is not really much of a negotiation. We're basically going to tell them like, hey, it's this amount for this amount of time. You can change the like payment periods and this like some extra cost because the payments, but it's really just one offer, take it or leave it. So we'll see.
What else you got,
info.
Pop?
Oh, what was I gonna say? Is you want to have the most info because that's where you have kind of like more leverage.
Yeah, I think the best negotiation tactic or leverage gaining tactic is just shut up. Ask a question and shut up. And we're doing a lot of talking right now because, well, look at the sand trap we're in. We're doing a lot of sand trap talking.
What the fuck? I had to go to pod.
You got to go to what?
I was trying to find my notes for the pod. I wanted to talk about clip copy, but that's kind of a different tangent.
Unrelated.
Unrelated. We'll keep it to one topic for a pod.
We should come back tomorrow with we'll come back tomorrow after Lieberman, and then with Ali Abdal and clipped copy maybe.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that?
Hey, dude, you know what I need? A payday. You want to know why? There's a freaking crack going through the windshield of the goddamn van. I can't get a break, dude. This is silly.
Here's the problem with ownership. It's like what they say with renting versus owning a home. It's like renting is the most you'll ever pay. Like I know right now I'm paying $2,500 a month, and that's the most I'll ever pay for this apartment. Versus your van, whatever you paid for it, that's the lowest you'll ever pay. You're only gonna get shit like a cracked windshield or a blown up engine, and it's just gonna be like
that, dude. You want to know something? You want to know you want to know something on top of that? The guy, he'll be here in 10 minutes to come fix the windshield. His partner's sick, so I gotta be his partner. I gotta help him put the windshield in.
Which will be fun. Him you make $75 an hour?
I told him I'm $100 an hour, and he just laughed at me. And so that's what we're doing.
He laughed at you. That's the best negotiating tactic. You say something and you just laugh. Imagine that Lieberman's like, yeah, I can pay like $1 million to do this deal. It's like, $1 million?
We'll just lose our shit. Literally, dude. Silence, laugh, and a mirror. Throw it right back at him. Just put a question mark at the end of what they said.
He's
That's
gonna get some dark arts magic coming out of him tomorrow, so you better watch out. All right, baby. No, dude, gotta get out while we can.